Welcome everyone to the Recap Otaku channel. Today we're going to take a look at the anime called Dress Up Darling. If you're ready, let's get started. In our first scene, we see a child named Wakana admiring the puppet made by their grandfather and engaging in the same craft. Then, we fast forward to the future and find Wakana as a teenager. Wakana lives with their grandfather and seeks his advice about the puppets they create. The grandfather advises Wakana not to rush and to be patient. When asked if Wakana has any friends at school, Wakana is unable to respond. While leaving home for school, someone grabs Wakana from behind, mistaking him for a friend. They apologize and run away upon realizing the mistake. Wakana has never been able to make friends due to their lifelong involvement with puppets, and they feel alone. Their interests don't align with anyone else's. As Wakana ponders these thoughts, a girl falls from the sky and hits her head on Wakana's desk. This girl is the beautiful Kitagawa Marin, who asks if Wakana is okay. Embarrassed, Wakana responds that they're fine, and Kitagawa walks away to chat with her friends. We learn that a few days ago, Kitagawa encountered a boy who made fun of a character she loves, which angered her greatly. She tells her friends that people should not make fun of things others love. Upon hearing this, Wakana is surprised and naturally applies these words to themselves. At the end of the school day, while Wakana is tidying up the classroom, Kitagawa approaches and starts helping. Wakana asks what she's doing and curious about Wakana's action. Kitagawa learns that Wakana doesn't have this duty and has been cleaning the classroom for their friends. Kitagawa gets angry, telling Wakana not to do things they don't want to do and that they're being used. When Wakana returns home, they keep thinking about these words, and meanwhile, their sewing machine breaks. The next day, thinking that nobody would enter a room with a sewing machine, Wakana enters and starts sewing clothes for their puppet. Yet, Kitagawa enters the room, causing Wakana to drop the puppet in shock. As Kitagawa catches it to prevent it from falling, she asks if Wakana is okay. Wakana believes that the embarrassment has ruined everything. Kitagawa asks where Wakana learned how to sew. Wakana explains it and Kitagawa shows him the outfit she made, but Wakana describes it as terrible and explains their problems, noticing that Kitagawa's eyes are filling with tears. Wakana repeatedly apologizes, but Kitagawa doesn't mind and asks Wakana to help her learn how to sew. Wakana assures Kitagawa that they will hold their hand and help her, and Kitagawa jumps with joy celebrating this. Later, Kitagawa tells Wakana that she wants to sew an outfit for a character named Shizuku-tan from the game Slippery Girls 2. At first, Wakana admits not knowing the game, but Kitagawa explains what it is and Wakana agrees to help her. When the door of Wakana's house started to be knocked like crazy, Wakana opens the door and says they are closed, but she sees Kitagawa in front of her. Kitagawa says he can't wait until Monday and enters the house. Wakana gets excited and tells him to stop, but Kitagawa ignores her and goes into his room. Wakana gets extremely excited about being in a girl's room, and Kitagawa asks her to take his measurements. Yet Wakana feels even more embarrassed because it requires Kitagawa to stand in his underwear. Kitagawa anticipates this and wears a swimsuit. At first, Wakana is extremely embarrassed to measure him, but she realizes how much Kitagawa wants it and forces herself to do it. Then Kitagawa asks her to measure his feet, and with great difficulty and embarrassment, Wakana manages to do it. Afterwards, things get even more difficult because Kitagawa asks her to measure her breasts. Wakana succeeds in doing this as well. When Kitagawa asks for the bust point measurement, Wakana is about to pass out from embarrassment. Kitagawa tells her it was a joke and measures it himself. While Wakana is thinking about how Kitagawa doesn't seem to be embarrassed at all, Kitagawa looks down and sees her, and his face turns bright red. After the measuring is completed, Kitagawa lends Wakana the game Slippery Girls. Wakana plays it at night when her grandfather sees her, leading to some strange and funny situations. Next day, Kitagawa tries to talk to our boy Goju Wakana, but Goju feels embarrassed after overhearing other students talking behind his back. He can't accept the fact that he is an insecure and struggling young man who can barely speak, and he doesn't believe that he can be friends with Kitagawa. After running away from Kitagawa all day, Kitagawa finally catches him after school, and Goju has to explain the situation. Kitagawa tells him not to worry about it. She makes some jokes to embarrass him, and then takes him to a cosplaying shopping trip where they choose fabric, wigs, and garters. After some fun and embarrassing situations, they have dinner together and return home. During this time, Goju talks about his first encounter with puppets in his childhood and his admiration for them. Kitagawa doesn't quite understand, and they see a street food vendor and get some food from there. Later, while they are on a bridge, Kitagawa tells Goju that he is happy today and thanks him. Goju learns that Kitagawa needs to sew the costume within the next 2 weeks because the next cosplay event is coming up. Goju thinks it's impossible and goes home. When his grandfather accidentally sees the things he's bought, he falls to the ground and is taken to the hospital. Goju's cousin comes there and says he will take care of his grandfather for a while. Goju tells Kitagawa about the situation, and Kitagawa assures him that he can definitely help if he needed it, and they exchange phone numbers. Gojo realizes that exams are approaching, and he also can't leave the workshop. He has a costume to sew, and he tries to complete all of these with great stress. Kitagawa tries to talk to him, but can't catch or find him. Gojo is lying in the midst of chaos, thinking, and he sees that the costume doesn't seem to be finished, so he starts crying due to increased stress. Then he remembers what his grandfather told him, gets up, and starts sewing the costume. On the day of the cosplay event, when Kitagawa arrives at Gojo's house, he is amazed to see how hard he worked, how sleepless he was, and how stressed he was. Kitagawa tells him that there are many cosplay events like this, and actually, he wasn't going to the event today either. Due to guilt, Kitagawa starts crying, and Goju calms him down and asks him to put on the costume. When Goju sees her in the costume, he is astonished and overwhelmed with joy. They take many photos together. Kitagawa decides to take part in the cosplay event. They go to the event together, and as usual, Gojo feels embarrassed, and then a photographer wants to take Kitagawa's photo, and Gojo watches. Then, another photographer comes and takes their photo. Gojo at this point thinks that he won't be able to spend time with Kitagawa anymore because he has finished sewing the costume. Kitagawa looks at him and smiles, tells him that he panicked, thinking Gojo left him behind and ran towards him, saying that his costume is about to burst. We understand that this is because he had added extra to make his breast look bigger the night before, and he seems like he might faint from the heat. Gojo goes somewhere else with her. Kitagawa asks for more things that would embarrass Gojo, and once he recovers, they go downstairs and continue the event. After the event finished, Gojo and Kitagawa go home. They talk about how wonderful their day was. Kitagawa starts thinking about what to wear for another cosplay event. Goju gets surprised and immediately agrees. As they continue their conversation, Goju tells Kitagawa, "You look beautiful today." When Kitagawa remembers that Goju only uses the word beautiful when he really means it, she feels very embarrassed. When he turns to face Gojo, he realizes that Gojo has fallen asleep. Kitagawa feels shy when she's near Gojo, because she's starting to like him. Just as Goju's grandfather leaves the house, he sees a girl got wet in the rain and tells her to get inside to dry herself. The girl's name is Inu Sanjuna, and after that, she meets Goju in a strange way. She asks him to make a cosplay dress for her. Goju rejects it first, but she threatens him and he accepts it eventually. Then Kitagawa arrives and she gets really excited to meet famous cosplayer Inu Sanjuna. Kitagawa and Goju decide to visit the cosplay studio with Inu, which she's going to borrow. Kitagawa asks Goju to come to her house to hand over anime CDs, but then they decide to watch it together. Meanwhile, Kitagawa thinks about her love to Goju and gets very shy. Then, she prepares some food for him, and Goju actually likes it. Juju's photographer and little sister, Shinju Inu, meets Wakana and Marin for the first time. They're surprised by how old she looks despite her age, especially Kitagawa. They quickly become friends when they enthusiastically chat about cameras. Later, Sanjuna proposes that they visit the old hospital they plan to use for their group costume play, and everyone agrees. Goju finishes making the Black Lobelia and Black Lily costumes with Marin's help. Marin and Sanjuna both try on their costumes and are thrilled with how good they look. Marin is particularly excited about their upcoming group costume play. When the big day arrives, Marin and Sanjuna receive a surprise guest. Wakana and Shinju's secret plan worked, and it made their first group costume photo session even better. While Juju and Shinju go through the photos from the session, they discover how they both feel. At the same time, Marin and Wakana are having fun during their summer break. They were getting ready for Marin's costume of a video game character called Veronica Taya, but then a problem comes up. Marin and Goju went to a manga cafe to discuss a light novel for Marin's next costume play. Then, to make Gojo happy, Marin looked for a photo studio. But things got chaotic when Gojo found out Marin had reserved a love hotel. How will things work out in this uncomfortable situation? Marin really wants to go to the summer festival, but she can't because she hasn't finished her homework. Gojo decides to go to her place and help her with her homework, and then they plan to go to the summer festival together. And here we come to the end of our summary. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.